Welcome to the Best Little Town Podcast, your go-to source for everything happening in the town of Bedford's local government. Whether it's new initiatives or important decisions shaping our town's future, you'll hear it right here. This podcast is dedicated to keeping our residents informed and engaged.
Good morning, Bedford. It is Wednesday, August 14th, 2024, as I'm speaking and recording this episode of the Best Little Town podcast, brought to you by the town of Bedford and our partners at Media Squatch to keep all interested parties abreast and informed of the many goings-on with the town of Bedford, particularly your town government. My name is Bart Warner. I have the privilege of serving as your town manager. A big part of that role is to serve as staff to council, and we're going to get right into the report of last night's town council meeting. Running down the agenda format, beginning with my report. For those folks who are interested in the many special events and activities we have ongoing in our town, one of those was the Battle of the Bands event, sponsored by the Central Virginia Business Coalition, which was scheduled for Saturday, August 17th. And as you can deduce from me speaking in past tense, unfortunately that event has been canceled due to some participation problems by some of the entrants. Also last night I reported on a scheduled emergency electrical outage that took place at approximately 7 o'clock a.m. today. The background behind that was there was a piece of equipment in our transmission and distribution system that we knew was about to go bad, and so our electric folks proactively got on that to make sure it didn't become an even bigger issue. We know that any kind of power outage is aggravating at a minimum for all of our customers, so we certainly apologize for that. In this case, it was something that we knew could be a larger issue if we did not address it. I would liken it to being, driving a car with a squeaky belt that eventually needs to be replaced. If you're a passenger in that car, you want to make sure you continue to be able to travel in it. So in the case of our electric system, we have several hundred passengers in the vehicle, so we want to minimize those inconveniences. The timing of the outage at 7 a.m., a lot of people had questions about that. That was determined to be the best time to reduce the strain on our system based on the loads and demands. Of course, it being the first week of school, we know that's also the time that people are trying to get ready and get their kids out the door, in addition to themselves, if they have to be at work. I spoke with John Wagner before I came over this morning to record the podcast, and that did go well. In fact, the outage in some cases was only about 15 minutes, and hearing from some of our customers, they didn't experience an outage at all, which we're happy about. Of course, we also received feedback that the stress associated with that notice also was aggravating. So we'll acknowledge that sometimes we're darned if we do and darned if we don't, but we want you to know we're doing our best to try to communicate effectively with you and manage your expectations. And on that note, I'll interject right now that if you ever have any service questions or issues, please contact the town hall directly. 540-587-6001 is the main telephone number. Or if you want to shoot me an email at bwarner@bedfordva.gov, that would also be effective. Getting back into last night's council agenda, we did have one appearance before council, and that was Reverend Ross Gilfillan, and I apologize if I mispronounced his name, who is the pastor at Longwood Avenue Baptist Church. He came just to pray for council and to provide for the Lord to provide guidance and wisdom to them. And of course, we certainly appreciate all those good thoughts, and we'll take them anytime we can get them. The members of council at that point had an opportunity to speak and just provide comments. Councilman Darrell Updike spoke and thanked the pastor for his words that he had just heard and his prayers. And also Darrell gave, thanks for the cooler weather that we're experiencing right now. Councilman Bob Carson gave a shout out to our electric department for resolving a prior customer issue that he was aware of. Our council members are all very active and engaged in the community as well. And in his comments, Bob noted that there was a neighbor of his that was experiencing an issue, and Bob was able to help facilitate the resolution of that. But in the manner of gentleman that he is, he did pass along the credit to our electric department, which we appreciate. Bob also shared his opinion last night that he thinks Bedford is moving in a good direction in general. Councilman Stacey Haley offered congratulations to the Bedford Get Together group for the mural that has recently been completed overlooking the Centertown Plaza, and that's at the intersection of Bridge and Main Streets, right in the middle of town. There is also an event that is a formal dedication of that art project taking place this Sunday in Centertown Plaza, beginning at 5 o'clock p.m. Again, that's Sunday, August 18th at 5 o'clock. Bedford Get Together invites anyone who's interested to come and observe and participate in the dedication of this new work of public art, which was installed on a private building. Councilman Haley also expressed his appreciation to the electric department, and also shared a bit of wisdom to pass along, which I think most of us will appreciate it, and that is to be aware of people who may not have the best of intentions in their interactions and who are conducting scams locally. Unfortunately, the world is full of people, and some of those people do have ill intent. So Councilman Haley's words are certainly appreciated and should be taken to heart, to be careful about folks who are asking for money and, well, asking for anything that may not seem quite right. Vice Mayor C.G. Stanley thanked everyone for coming. We did have a pretty good attendance at last night's meeting in person, which we certainly appreciate. Again, let me interject that council meets regularly on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month at 7 o'clock p.m. at 215 Main Street. Council chambers is located upstairs in the building there. Vice Mayor Stanley also passed along compliments to all the town staff. Councilman Bruce Joe Hanson noted the efforts of workers in town and stated that he thinks they deserve thanks and support, and we certainly appreciate Bruce's comments as well as his leadership. Councilman Todd Foreman, when it came his turn to speak, said he didn't wish to repeat what everybody else had said, but knowing Todd, I can assure you that he certainly echoes all the comments that preceded him. In his comments, Mayor Tim Black also noted and commented on the good attendance in person at the council meeting and encouraged everyone to come see council more often. He also specifically said that people should reach out at any time to any member of council with their concerns, and as staff, we certainly echo that sentiment as well. Mayor Black recognized public works crews as well as police and fire for dealing with some of the issues we had from the storm that passed on Thursday, the remnants of Hurricane and then Tropical Storm Debbie. We largely avoided damage and inconvenience, but there were a few situations where we had limbs down that we had to respond to. One thing we talked about in our evaluation of our response to that too is, in situations like this where there are certainly natural disasters and things where the weather is potentially bad, we encourage people not to get out. One of the issues with streets being blocked is the issues of normal circulation and the ability to travel around. But if there's a case where severe weather is occurring, your best bet is to shelter where you are unless you absolutely have to go out. Obviously, the folks that are on call with the town will do our best to maintain the facilities, but just wanted to make that clarification because that's something we've talked about internally as well. On a semi-related note to that, Mayor Black had attended the Board of Supervisors meeting the night before, And it was announced that Bedford County has been designated as a storm-ready community, which is a significant achievement and has several benefits for the community. That effort was spearheaded by Kent Roby, who is associated with the emergency services on the county side, in cooperation with our own police chief, Ronnie Lewis, and both gentlemen were recognized appropriately for their leadership and efforts, and we certainly appreciate that. I'd also give recognition to my counterpart, County Administrator Robert Hiss. It may not always be apparent to folks, but particularly at the staff level, we have a very excellent working relationship with our cohorts at the county. We appreciate the services they provide and appreciate them as colleagues. Mayor Black also commented again on the Bedford Get-Together mural, noted the dedication ceremony at 5 o'clock this Sunday in the Centertown Plaza. Mayor Black also noted that the Bedford County Fair will take place next weekend with dates from Friday to Sunday. Most of the activities will take place at Falling Creek Park. Parking for that will be handled at certain satellite locations, including a couple within town. So if you want to go to the county fair and you can't find parking there, and chances are that you won't be able to because it looks like a really big and fun event, you can park in designated areas at Liberty Lake Park and also at the Westgate Shopping Center on Blue Ridge Avenue. The organizers of the fair will be running shuttle service to and from those locations to make sure that everybody has a chance to access the return of this appreciated and worthwhile event. Moving on into the business that was taking place last night, we had a presentation from the developers of the Hampton Inn Hotel, which is going to be built up on Burks Hill Road, kind of between the road and the D-Day Memorial. There is a performance agreement that kind of governs how that's going to happen between the town and the developer, and there have been some changes made to that because of some good things in the past and also probably another good thing coming forth. Since we're the government and these are business contracts, they have to be fairly specific. So last night we were asked for another extension of the performance agreement. I will tell you that, going back to what I just said, the specifics of the original agreement had to be amended once before because the first time we were made aware that there was a certain brand associated with the project that we thought was a good thing for the community, and that had to be mentioned. And so the specific construction for the project was then established with that first change, which was executed earlier this year. There's been another, and the change back then also related to the fact that Hampton Inn said they wanted to build one of their newer prototype hotels here in Bedford, which required that change. And of course, the opportunity to get one of their new hotels with all the modern conveniences was something that council certainly thought was worthwhile back a few months ago when they approved that change. The latest change is actually Hampton Inn and their parent company Hilton have determined that they'd like to do a little bit more on this site than originally planned. So whereas the original proposal was for a Hampton Inn brand hotel, the new proposal is actually for a Hampton Inn and Suites hotel. And that means that this hotel will include several suite accommodations, which is kind of an upgrade in terms of their usual offerings, as well as an expanded business meeting center, which means that when the hotel is ultimately built, Bedford can be the site for conferences and meetings that attract out-of-town professionals and gives us another opportunity to showcase our community. Town Council unanimously approved the extension request last night, also noting that they would ask the developer to provide some specific details, including benchmark dates for design, fill and grading, and the expected date for footer installation and other improvements. Again, council is aligned with staff and that we want to make sure we understand clearly what's going on. We can share that information with you, and then we can all manage our expectations appropriately. But basically, last night's first item of new business dealt with the fact that Hampton Inn is not only planning to invest in Bedford, but they think that this community is worthy of investment at a higher level than they originally planned. The second item of new business deals with the town's award of a grant from the United States Department of Agriculture. This grant, will fund strategic planning efforts, which we intend to focus on our Centertown area. Like a lot of other historic areas, we see a lot of activity in our downtown area that sometimes ebbs and flows in terms of things like occupancy and intensity of use. We pay close attention to that, and we're sensitive to it as well. And whenever we see things like businesses that are closing, we'd like to know why and to analyze the reasons and to see what we can do. So as we encounter announcements of that type, understand that council and staff are already trying to do our best to address those. And we had applied for this grant several months ago. The good news is we received it, and we've received $50,000 of federal money that requires no local match to bring in somebody to do some analysis, see what we can do to improve things physically, financially, or strategically. Town council had to vote to accept that grant, which of course they did unanimously. The last item of new business last night related to the property that has been known as Edmund Street Park. This is the park property located at 600 Edmund Street, adjacent to Susie Gibson Technical School. Recently, the town completed acquisition of that property in cooperation with Bedford County and Bedford County Public Schools. Now that we own the property, we are working on doing what we can to make some improvements there, do some maintenance, to make sure it's as attractive and useful and functional property as possible. Incidentally, we're also looking to do that in all our other park facilities, which include Liberty Lake Park, Reynolds Park, Greenwood Park, and also Poplar Park, which in my personal opinion is in pretty rough shape, but we do wish to address that. In any event, last night's action related to Edmund Street Park was a celebration of sorts. The property committee of council met back on July 22nd to discuss improvements to the park, but also as part of that, they discussed the historic significance of that particular property and the contributions of Mrs. Beulah Ellen Penn Payne, who passed away about a year or so ago, and who had worked directly in the park in a professional role, but also provided a lot of great personal contributions and, frankly, love and affection to the community focused on that park. So in recognition of Ms. Beulah's actions and celebration of the fact that we want to do some good things, the property committee recommended that we designate that formally and rename that facility as the Beulah Payne Memorial Park at the Ball Diamond. And the Ball Diamond reference is something that's a great source of affection for the community, because in the local neighborhood there, the Ball Diamond is what is typically and informally referred to. So growing up in the community, Councilman Carson noted that when somebody said meet at the Ball Diamond, everybody knew exactly what you were talking about. So town council adopted a resolution formally designating the town-owned property at 600 Edmund Street as Beulah Payne Memorial Park at the Ball Diamond. And heretofore, we'll probably just refer to it as either the Ball Diamond or Beulah Payne Park. Mayor Black also read a proclamation related to this designation and presented a copy of that to Ms. Payne's family members who were there. I won't belabor that if you're listening to this podcast, but I would encourage you to go online and listen to the meeting or watch it on YouTube. We also probably need to make sure we get that resolution posted so everyone can see it, because, again, it's a celebration of a great facility, a great neighborhood, and a wonderful neighbor who has since passed on but is dearly remembered. And that was the agenda for last night. Again, we'll meet again on Tuesday, August 27th at 7 o'clock p.m. And there will be some more business of the town that we'll take up and do the best we can to advance the interests of what we consider to be the world's best little town. We encourage you to participate in that effort any way you can. If you can show up for the meetings, that's wonderful. But if not, feel free to view us online and reach out to us directly. Until I join you again in this podcast, I wish everyone good health, good cheer, and hopefully good weather.